Live breaking news from News Channel 3.
Hi, everybody. I'm Beth Farnsworth. We want to update you on the Gibraltar fire burning in the mountains above Santa Barbara. The fire has grown to more than 60 acres. Firefighting resources from Los Padres National Forest, Santa Barbara County, and Montecito Fire all on the front lines. News Channel 3 senior reporter John Palmentary is live in the middle of all this. And John, where exactly are you and what's the firefight looking like now?
We're on top of the peaks of the Montecito Hills, high up off of East Camino Cielo area, where there is an aggressive attack on this fire that's been going on since 5:30 this morning. Look over my shoulder now. Let's size it up for you. On the ridge line, we have ourselves tankers coming in from left to right along with helicopters. We have bulldozers. We have fire crews here that have been cutting line. And if you look just straight ahead, you see this big dozer cut here, and that's giving them a fuel break. The fire, for the most part, has been contained to a canyon in the hills above Montecito. Even though it's been windy with gusts 15 to 20, you have not seen a wild spread of this fire as we have seen in fires in this area gone by. Now, overhead, we have a pretty big air show going on. There's a sky crane with a bucket right in the straight ahead in the shot. But throughout the entire range here, we have several helicopters from Santa Barbara County Fire and the Air Ops. The Sheriff's Department's got a helicopter as well. We've got 2 or 3 tankers. You might be seeing a drop happening here coming from right to left. We've got different air tankers. Let's come all the way around to the right here. And you see a tanker that's coming from the right, and they're sizing up. One of these two is going to make a drop of Phos-Chek. They've made multiple drops here in this area to try and calm down this fire, and for the most part, they've kept it within its 50 to 60 acre range here. There are no homes up in this area, but the potential to go down these canyons into populated areas, as we all know, is very, very high. So with windy conditions here, much windier up here than we saw down in East Mountain Drive earlier today, where the winds were extremely light. Up here, we've had some pretty strong gusts, and that's been a concern. The firefighters have come in, as you say, Beth, with a number of different agencies throwing a lot at this, and the air attack drops have been very effective in slowing down the fire. If you look down to the lower right here, you'll see how it changes to an orangish color. That's been hit with Phos-Chek. And what that does ahead of the fire is if any flames get into that area, it just won't burn like it would without that fire retardant on it. So that's very effective in slowing down the fire. They call it putting a line around it. So firefighters have hose lines in there, bulldozers, extra crews on the ridge lines. They've got their chainsaws cutting fuel breaks. You can hear the whirring of all the chainsaws, and a lot of aircraft up. Thought we'd see a drop here during this live shot, but so far we have not seen one. It looks like one's going to happen here right above us. They're setting up for a pattern to come and take a look and make a drop. Let's see what this plane does above us here to our right. It's coming in to make a drop. Anyway, so what's going to happen here is several of the tankers are setting up to make some more Phos-Chek drops on the fire and calm it down. Many people are very concerned about this getting down in the canyons and into populated areas, but for now, they have been able to keep this in check in its range, and they'd certainly like to get it completely out as fast as possible because of the windy conditions that are in the forecast. Coming back here live, these firefighters once again are framing this fire with dozer cuts, air tanker drops, helicopter drops, and many crews in different areas of this, and of course very concerned about the weather conditions out here. That's the very latest from Montecito Peak above this fire. I'm John Palmentary, News Channel 3.
Okay, John, and we understand the fire is now roughly 60 to 70 acres in size. It broke out just after 5:15 this morning in the Montecito Peak area where you are standing. Any talk about the possible cause at this point?
We don't know the cause, and we certainly don't know the point of origin that I've been able to determine. If the fire is down in this particular area, so we're well off of East Camino Cielo, or the Ridgeline roads here, which would be east of Gibraltar and west of Toro Canyon. It's not an area that has roads where vehicles can go. It would not be an area that I don't see any power lines particularly around here. So it's a little difficult to tell what the source would be, but it's a possibility that it is human caused, and that's certainly not an official determination, but there's really been no way a vehicle has gone down in here that we could tell because it's well off the roadside.
John, I just want to reiterate, you're saying no power lines. I did have some emails, texts this morning from friends who were impacted by the T fire and also Hesacita fire. They felt, though, in that area there were some high power lines. You don't see those right nearby at all?
Well, there certainly are power towers up here and power lines up here, and there have been throughout this region, but we don't particularly see any right through this area, and that may be the cause, but I just don't see them from where I'm at now as being directly where they are fighting a fire. And sometimes we do see that off the Refugio coastline. We have had fires in the past right below these high tension lines and these power towers. But where I'm at now, and we saw them coming up in this area certainly, but they're not right here where this fire is. You know, I'm going to keep a look here because we've got a lot of air tankers coming through here. They're going to be making a drop here. We maybe catch one live on the news here. They're certainly flowing right past us. We're at the top of the ridgeline, so every time a plane comes over, it's just right above our heads. Okay, so Beth, getting back to this power line issue, we just don't see them right through there. If they're in there, they'd be on the other side, and we'll find that out with the firefighters looking for the point of origin.
John, one more question for you. I know you have covered countless fires. Curious if the area where you are right now, if that was impacted anyway by the T fire, how long it's been since that terrain is burned? What type of fuel are you seeing there?
The story on the Montecito front country and upper hills is one that the firefighters know very, very well. This would be an area above the T fire, and it is an area that is not had a fire in a long time, according to the firefighters with the Montecito Fire Protection District. As a matter of fact, it is considered one of the most volatile areas in the Southern California front country, from Montecito down to Carpinteria and the Rincon ridge lines. This is an area that has not burned in many, many years. I believe it's in excess of 50 years. So you can just imagine just how tinder dry this area is, and these canyons are more inaccessible than we see in the San Marcos Pass area, for example, or the Santa Barbara front country where there's more trails and homes and roads. This area just does not have that same kind of structure, so it's a lot harder to get up here and find the routes to get into fire zones, and it certainly hasn't burned in many, many years.
Okay, the big fear, John, and people talking about that, as you said, Carpinteria as well. And again, John saying that that area hasn't burned in at least 50 years or more. So firefighters getting a very good aggressive handle on this fire right now. And John Palmentary, we will go back to you live for our 11 o'clock midday this morning with Joe Butita. Just want to let folks know that there is an evacuation warning. It is in effect right now, not mandatory though. And this is for the evacuation zones 3, 4, and 5. That map right there indicating this is for the area north of Highway 192, also east of Cold Springs, west of Buena Vista, south of East Camino Cielo. And you can find that map on our website at KEYT.com. Again, this is a warning only for evacuations for folks living in those areas and those zones 3, 4, and 5. It is not mandatory. Also want to remind people who perhaps haven't heard, parents and families affected certainly have. Montecito Union, Cold Springs elementary schools, both elementary schools closed today because of smoke in that area. So kids staying home today. We do know that weather is going to play a big factor in this firefight. We're going to see more of what we saw yesterday in terms of the gusty winds. Meteorologist Meredith Garfalo standing by with an update now on the weather for all of us. Meredith?
Thanks, Beth. Well, if you look earlier this morning, here's a picture that came in. You probably were waking up in Santa Barbara. Just to put this into perspective, where that fire was, this was from Santa Barbara City College. Had a lot more flames earlier, especially overnight as that sun came up. Thank you so much to everyone on Twitter who were sharing those photos with us. Now, I want to show you again a map of where this fire is. Like John was saying, it's not in a populated area. Lots and lots of stuff out here. But if I zoom out and show you this area, you'll notice that it's pretty far away from Mission Canyon, from Montecito. Montecito, so that's a great thing. And as far as the winds go, here's the current conditions near that area. We've got winds out of the north-northeast at 6 miles per hour. That's great. We are getting some gusts, though, up 15 to 20 miles per hour, and the relative humidity continues to drop. Dry conditions is not a good thing, but it's been in the favor of the firefighters this morning, which has been great since they've been able to get that good grasp on it. But here's the fire forecast. What happens is when there's a fire, the National Weather Service puts out a spot forecast for the firefighters and for us to let you know in that area of what the forecast looks like specific to canyons and whatnot as we get into the afternoon. Here's what it looks like for today. North-northeast winds 25 to 40 miles per hour. And if you remember those north-northeast winds, we also call them the Santa Ana winds. It gets very, very gusty in the Ventura County mountains. So it's going to be a lot like those winds we saw yesterday, just out of a different direction. Could get some gusts up to 50 miles per hour. Tonight, still going to be very, very breezy. Probably we'll see a wind advisory in effect. Already have a high wind warning that will be in effect for the mountains later on today. Humidity will continue to drop. It's going to stay in the 45 to 50% range. That means there's going to be some moisture out there. It's not going to be bone dry. We'll get a little bit drier later tonight. But the temperatures for today, this afternoon, 70s and 80s. It's going to be warm. The winds are going to be the main concern, and as John was just saying, the firefighters are getting a good grasp on it, so that's great news for us. But we'll definitely be watching these winds, and hopefully we don't have any flare-ups or anything like that later today. Of course, I'll have more of my full forecast coming up at 11 a.m., Beth, and we'll see where those winds are and what the conditions continue to look like as we move forward into the day.
Okay, Meredith, thanks so much. We want to go back out to John Palmentary. Another drop of retardant underway right now, and as Meredith said, the gusts already picking up a little bit there at Montecito Peak. We could see that with John Palmentary standing out there live. Now for a wrap-up of the size now between 60-70 acres, John.
And here we go. We're going to take this shot out here, Beth. Let's just take it right now. We're going to go to the left here. We've got a big air tanker coming in right on the left side of our screen. And watch this drop coming down live here over the fire zone as it makes a drop of Phos-Chek right on the target to start slowing down the flames and the hot spots of this fire. Part of the aggressive attack we have seen throughout the morning here by multiple agencies and the air tankers, helicopters, and more coming into this area to get on this fire and try and throw everything they have at it now to slow it down before either more winds kick in or it gets into other canyons. And there you have it, a live drop on the air from that fire. Once again, we've got a big fuel break here with the tankers dropping around it. We've got the bulldozers and the hand crews as well, cutting line, and this fire is calming down. And this is all part of a very united and aggressive effort here on the Montecito front country. That's the very latest. I'm John Palmentary, News Channel 3. Beth?
John, a couple more questions for you. So if you turn around, you're facing the ocean, Rattlesnake Trail, Parma Park.
Well, that would be over to the right of your screen. That would be the Santa Barbara side. And then this is the Montecito side, so we're above Westmont College, essentially, up in the hills. And right next to me here, we've got ourselves, the firefighters are now arriving here, and they're going to be cutting the line. The crew is here now with all their tools, and they all said hi as they walked by, and they're going into the attack mode to cut a line. They were just pouring in all day. But geographically, we are certainly to the east of Santa Barbara.
Okay, and John, your sense that they're really getting
most of this area here. Yeah.
I was going to say, you're getting a really good sense that they are getting a very good handle on this fire. As you said, unified command between Santa Barbara County Fire, Santa Barbara City Fire, Los Padres Fire, Montecito Fire, this crew that we just saw coming down here. You've got the helicopters, you've got the air tanker. You feel that they're really in pretty good shape.
Yes, and the Montecito Fire Protection District for years has done an excellent job. Here we got another air tanker drop. We're going to take a look at this here. It's coming in from the left side of your screen. This is air tanker 101 making a drop there very aggressively, as we say, on this side of the fire, which is on the other side of that ridge line. We can't see what it is that they're targeting, but they definitely must have a hot spot there. And those drops have been coming in very frequently on that side of the fire before it moves down in that area. But what the Montecito Fire Protection District has done, and if anyone knows this area, well, it's certainly that district, and they know where these fuel breaks are, where their roads are, where their access points are to frame any fires that they do have. But it's very rugged, and there aren't as many roads here as we do see in other parts of the front country.
You know, John, there was a little bit of controversy years ago with the use of Phos-Chek for environmental reasons.
Well, no one's brought that up today. They want this fire out, and I have not heard much about that in recent years. It seems to be an effective way to slow down the front end of a fire and cool down the fuels that the fire would go into. From what I see, these helicopters make water drops directly on hot spots with their hundreds of gallons of water in those buckets, and the planes will put the orange Phos-Chek on the outside lines to prevent the fire from roaring in and getting into some fresh fuel and brush to expand the fire, and it just makes it very difficult to burn. So it's been an effective product in stopping fires over the years.
Okay, John, in terms of the winds, the gusts, Meredith talking about them kicking up again tonight, similar to what we had yesterday. Can you give us an idea of the homes that would be closest? We do know that there are evacuation warnings in place right now for zones 3, 4, and 5. No mandatory evacuations at this point.
Earlier today when we were on East Mountain Drive, the winds were very light, and it was a very good sign as we were reporting throughout the entire morning show. And then as we got up into the East Camino Cielo area, we noticed the winds were much stronger up here. Here comes another tanker drop right there on the target on that ridge line there. And they are throwing a lot at this fire right now. The winds have been much stronger up here than I expected to see from where I was earlier today on Gibraltar Road and on East Mountain Drive. And when I got up here, it was an eye-opener for me because I started getting even more concerned with these winds and this fire. But for the most part, they've been able to keep the fire within its 50-acre footprint, which is an amazing effort, because usually with winds like this, the fires tend to get at their own personalities and find their way around these canyons. So I'm very impressed with how they've been able to slow this fire down and keep it up here and not down into populated areas.
Absolutely, considering how much fuel is there and how long it's been since it has burned. John, we're going to give you a break for just a second. Check back with our meteorologist now, Meredith Garfalo. And as John said, the gusts there at Montecito Peak, very strong, stronger than he anticipated they would be, Meredith.
Well, you know, we've been talking about these winds all morning, Beth. We know that they were going to be gusty today. They've just been setting up where we had those sundowners or those strong winds out of the north-northwest yesterday. Today, expecting to see some of those, and then those winds shift to the northeast. And that's what we call the Santa Ana wind event, where Ventura County and the mountains seem to get the breeziest of the winds. So this is what's called a spot fire forecast. It comes from the National Weather Service. They actually go into where the areas of the canyons are and determine what kind of winds we're going to see based on the location of the fire. So this is the official forecast as of right now. Today, those winds will get up to 25 to 45 miles per hour. We could even see some gusts up to 50, and it's still going to be breezy later tonight. That plays a huge factor, but the other two important factors are the relative humidity, or how much moisture is in the air, as well as how dry the conditions are with the temperatures. So the humidity is 45 to 50%. If it's really, really bad, like we've seen in previous fires, it's down into the teens or even the single digits. That is not the case with this area. We will see 45 to 50% humidity, so there's going to be a lot more moisture in the air, and temperatures are also going to be in the 70s and the 80s. So we have the heat in our favor, we have the humidity in our favor. It's just those winds. If the firefighters continue to make progress and everything's out, we should be in good shape. But again, those winds are going to be a concern, and the First Alert Weather Center throughout the day will be tracking them very closely, Beth.
Real quick question to you, Meredith. Right now, how strong are the gusts that you're clocking at Montecito Peak where John is?
We actually just had one come in our last hour where we are anywhere from 15 to 20 miles per hour. So nothing like what we're forecasting later on, but it definitely is a little bit breezier up there.
Okay, thanks, Meredith. We want to go back out to John now, and you just heard that from Meredith. John, the strongest gusts where you are, Montecito Peak, about 15 to 20 miles an hour.
Well, I know that very well. We had to climb up a very tall hill to get to where we're at now, and the winds were not in our favor, so we had sort of the double whammy on us just to get up here with all the gear on top of Montecito Peak and had the 20-mile-an-hour gusts coming down on us. To take a look at the scene now and see some of the other firefighting techniques that are going on. To the lower right of your screen here, you can see some crews that are using chainsaws and cutting the brush line there, and you can see puffs of smoke on their other side. So they're right there on the front line where we have seen some Phos-Chek and water drops, and they're laying hose lines, cutting the brush out as well, and they are trying to make sure that if the fire does spot or spread, that it does not have much room to grow. Now watch once again as coming right over my head comes another air tanker full of Phos-Chek, making a beautiful drop right on top of the fire to slow it down and try and bring this Gibraltar Montecito Peak area fire under control. They have just been bombing this area over and over and over with as much as they can to keep any outside ring of this fire from catching on fire or having those flames expand. And they've been relentless in the last 30 minutes, especially on this one particular spot, to keep that fire from jumping or spotting, as they say, into other areas, and there certainly is plenty of fuel for it to do that. The winds, though, the good news is the winds are starting to die down right now, giving them a chance to really make this aggressive attack. Another crew is showing up right now, and they are going into the attack mode with their chainsaws and all their tools to cut the line and to protect the outside ridges of this fire and keep it from spreading. As you see, they're coming in from a number of different agencies to help put this fire out here in the Montecito Hills. Up in the sky, we still have a pretty big air show with a number of helicopters with water and a number of planes that are making their circles to get ready to make some more Phos-Chek drop. So once again here, you can see they have this cut line here where the crews are going in with their chainsaws and tools. Some are over here as well, making some big cuts. The bulldozers are staged up there, and the air show is certainly up in the sky, sizing up what they need to do next and how many new areas they need to make their drops on. That's the very latest from Montecito Peak. It looks good. The winds are dying down, the temperatures are cool, and it looks like they're getting the upper hand on this fire. Beth, back to you.
Okay, great news. Thanks so much, John Palminteri, there live at Montecito Peak, where that fire broke out this morning just after 5:15. And, you know, viewers at home probably cheering each time they see that Phos-Chek being dropped. A very aggressive air attack and ground attack on this Gibraltar fire. Just a quick reminder, we've got those two elementary schools closed today because of the poor air quality. Cold Springs Elementary and Montecito Union. Both schools are expected to be back open tomorrow. Also, not mandatory, a warning evacuation for the zones 3, 4, and 5. This is the area north of Highway 192, east of Cold Springs, west of Buena Vista, south of East Camino Cielo. Again, those neighborhoods under a warning for evacuation, not mandatory. So continue to monitor the Gibraltar fire on our website at KEYT.com. Also, Twitter, KEYT-NC3. And we will have the very latest on the Gibraltar fire in our midday show with Joe Butita at 11 o'clock this morning. Now we rejoin our broadcast already in progress, The View.